I am of the pure mind of God. I am the resurrection and the life in my body, my finances, my relationships, and my world. I qualify everything in my world with perfection. I am perfection. I am this perfect day, and the life that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. I accept only God's perfection, His good, in my outer circumstances. I know in my heart that God is all in all. I am absolutely not concerned about what happens, because I know wonderful things are happening now.
Hey, it is a sunny, warm, humid experience today. I've gotten about 9 miles in so far, and just figured I'd stop here and record a little bit because it's really pretty here. There are lots of people running. They're running the hills over here. A lot of the times I do come and run these hills here. They're really perfect for what I do, and the scenery just makes it all the better. All right, so let's see what path we want to take. I think I'll take the stairs. So lots going on in the world, and hopefully, you're doing your PTT if you're following the work that I put out there. And actually, these are Frisbee golfers, so I don't want to get in the way of these guys. They use that stairway for their golf. And then you got a track team, I think, running these. Yep, the track team is running the bowl here. So I'm just going to stay away from all this and let these guys do their thing. Anyway, doing the PTT and tying it into doing the 10-day blitzes, I think is a great idea. I think if you focus your concentrated energy in short spurts, that you can accomplish a lot more, because what happens is you start to develop these neural pathway habits. You'll start to really appreciate your on time, and you'll start to feel loathsome and negligent in the downtime when you're not focused and when you're not, pushing forward to, achieve new dimensions within yourself, opening up more of the fruits of the Spirit and, raising the level of what you're allowing into your life for goodness. And the 10-day blitzes can really open that up for you, and they do. I've done 3 of them so far. I'm actually in the middle of the 3rd one, and you might experience some falling away of old things in your reality, things that were not working, and that's to make room for the new. So don't worry if things get shaken up a bit, because when you shake out, shake out the old, that's all you can do to make room for the new. You have to create a vacuum. The nature abhors a vacuum, and so you have to allow for yourself to hold your peace when that stuff starts to get shaken out. And it looks like what one of my former mentors, Catherine Ponder, would call a chemicalization process, where you reach a lot of turbulence, like a blowout or something that just comes to a head finally. And when it does, just recognize what's happened is that you've just exposed something that is in the old vibrational realm that you were in, and because you're no longer in that vibrational realm, it is clashing of the realities that's happening. It's the clashing of realities. It is a separate universe ultimately. So you can have multiple universes that you go in and out of, and that's a fact. It's all frequency. And so what I do is, in the book, I show you what I do and The book Trust talks about the fruits of the Spirit and using the self-entrainment technique. So when I get up in the morning, I go to my office and I start my day by doing the basic 3, I call them. So the first thing I do is I look into my eyes, I do that safe touch technique, and I start releasing all guilt, shame, and self-condemnation. That's a negative repellent force that causes punishment to come to oneself, or the pushing away of the good that you're asking for. So I get that level down from whatever it's at, 2, 4, 6, 8, down to a 0. So the first thing I do is I get rid of all that. It's real simple, it's real fast, it's real efficient. The next thing I do is what I taught in the last 30-day online class, which was discovering the daily bread. So I find the thought for the day. The all-sufficient thought that fills whatever void or need seems to be appearing. And then back of that, there is a fruit of the Spirit. So I take that fruit of the Spirit and I use a self-entrainment technique and I scale that up as high as I can, at least an 8+. For instance, today's fruit of the Spirit, I did 2 separate things. So one of them was humility and one was self-control. And so I kind of jointly put those together, and then I put it into an I am statement, and then I take it into an ABC break process, and then I use that 10 times throughout the day on a blitz. Now it sounds like it's a lot of work, but ultimately it takes me less than 3 minutes to do all of that, okay, first thing in the morning. And then what happens is, then as I go out throughout my day, I'm going into the ABC break processes, and I'm continuously holding my consciousness in that space. What Neville Goddard would say, I'm engendering, I'm not creating. I'm not trying to create, I'm engendering. I'm coming from that space. And so as I come from that space, I emerge from that space. They would say act as if, right? Well, it's called acting as if, but the act really has to be frequency out of the heart first, and then the knowledge capacity accompanies that. So you have to have the alignment that way. And once you do, then things start to just fall in your lap because they are in the same vibrational proximity. They're a match. You're aligned. Everything's lined up for you. The stars are lining up, you see. And then you go about following, your Father's business, which is to live from a place of joy, peace, love, and to the best of your ability, let the old reality clash and shake out as it may. It has to fall away, because the new reality is not the same dimension as the one you're leaving. So you're leaving dimensions. And these dimensions are within yourself. They are within you. It's amazing. I was just researching, going through a lot of the work of Dr. P.J. Dune and her amazing discoveries. I can't give that all away to you. You should really get those materials yourself if you want them, or come to the workshop we're doing and listen to her speak. You see, but when I correlate it with everything that I know to be true, the one snippet I'll give you is that these dimensions are within you. Okay, you go through the wormhole within yourself. Now, I've always known that you shift in and out of frequencies. I've known that for a good 10, 11, 12 years. Okay, I had some pretty high-level teaching back then, and I was learning about that stuff, and I demonstrated it when I went from the 120-year-old farmhouse to the 8,500 square foot mansion. So I went from, nothing to the $5.5 million castle in a couple of short years, not to mention the business income and all the ideas that came along with it to sustain that reality. Well, that reality was there the whole time. It's not like I made it happen. All I did was shift into the universe where it was already happening. And see, that's what you got to get your mind around. You got to get to thinking in terms of everything happens now. All realities converge in now space, and you decide which one you're going to emerge from. And so that 3 to 5 minute ritual that I do every morning, that I teach at the workshop, that I will teach you how to master at the workshop and show you how to dial it in so that it becomes not a burden, but the one thing you look forward to every single day, because it aligns you perfectly, is the real just I guess it's like the highlight reel of my last 20 years of spiritual study and self-development and everything else I've been doing. So I guess that's the highlight reel right there, but I turned it into a daily habit because your daily habits become your destiny. And so when you look at the results of any given individual, you can trace everything back to habits. Either they're doing something or not doing something, and it's either positive or it's not so positive. And so, like, one habit that a lot of people have is maybe they get home from work and they pop in front of the TV and they binge out, right? And then over time, they start putting on weight, they start becoming unhappy, and you see what they're doing is they're programming themselves with propaganda. Okay, it's all dysfunctional, and it's designed to rob and steal your joy because it's coming from the mind of the father of lies. It's all programming, propaganda. Okay, they interweave these memes into all of it. So it's actually weaving a matrice in your brain and causing you to see the world from the lens of mortality, first of all, and also from ignorance. And if you see the world from mortality and ignorance, then you're a creature of ignorance till the very end. And you see, the more you put that habit into your day and the more you allow that toxic stuff into your mind, into your consciousness, it's worse for you than, eating junk food all day. I think you're eating the real junk food, which is the thoughts of men. And see, then it's a formality that you soothe your emotional self by, stuffing down unnecessary things. And we've all been there. We've all done it. I'm not going to say I haven't done that before, but see, I understand now that I give myself twice a week, okay? Twice a week, this is what I do. I have what you would call 2 cheat days a week, okay? And essentially, after going about 3 to 4 days real hard on, real, militant style, going after it, then what I do is I kick back in the evening on those nights, and I go ahead and I watch a couple movies, and I eat everything that I want. Okay, ice cream, cake, pizza, it doesn't matter. And when I'm doing that, you see, there's a real trick to when I'm doing it. When I'm doing it, I'm still holding the thought in my image of my self-awareness that I still am clothed in the likeness of God. So I never fall in my thought believing that these calories are going to do anything to me or that it's going to cause me some sort of sickness because I'm eating fake, artificial, garbage food. I don't allow my consciousness to go there. Okay, I had to take a break there and take a phone call. But anyway, I got to remember what we were going through here. I was just talking about the daily habits. That's pretty much it. And just really dialing them in. And even when you let yourself off, the reason why I let myself off the routine is to appreciate being on it so much more. And ultimately what I do is I link pain and pleasure to both experiences. Now, when I'm on, like today, and everything, I've been eating pretty clean, and I've done quite a bit of exercise. I did my, morning weight vest, hill sprints. I've been walking for about 2.5, 3 hours now. And then later tonight I'll go and I'll do a late night chest and shoulder workout at the gym, crank the music. It'll be pretty cool. Quite literally, it'll cool down. And so that's an on day. And then in the middle of that, I go to the office and I do some work, see the kids, and I kind of go back and forth and just follow the joy all day. That's kind of what I love to do. But that's pleasure. That's pleasure to me. Now, if I did it every day, all the time, it might not be pleasure anymore. And so we move towards pleasure, we move away from pain, and that's a totally unconscious phenomenon in the animal brain. And so when you're being governed by certain forces that you see are very subtle, but they're predominantly governing most people when they're unconscious, is the pain and pleasure thing. That's like Tony Robbins 101. So I've noticed that if I do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, it's very, very pleasurable for me to be on, because I love the feeling of being like the clarity of eating less. I love the feeling of moving and creating inertia, exercising. the freedom to express that. And I love the discipline and focus and thought of really giving my all in everything that I do. It feels good. It's a lot of pleasure. And then when I have the off day, see how this works is then I go ahead and when I eat that mountain of junk food primarily, you see the instant rush is kind of pleasurable, but the after effect when I'm done, I really take in the pain and I allow myself to feel the gluttony, because it is gluttony. And I say, you know what? I say, this is really not that enjoyable. I'm glad I'm done. And so then when I'm done, it does a couple of really cool things for me. I've just linked pain to doing it, so I'm easily able to go another 3 to 4 days without touching it again, because it really gets to the point where my stomach, it shrinks the rest of the week, and then I eat that big giant meal, my stomach expands, it hurts, and then I start sweating, it gets hot, and it's disgusting because it's got a lot of sugar and a bunch of crap in it. And so I really just sit with it, and I appreciate what it's teaching me, okay, that I should do less of it. And then, without losing train of my thought of, knowing that I'm never falling from that place of balance where there is no excess weight, and there is no deficiency, okay? I know that those are principles of God. So I've got pain anchored now. The other thing it does is it spikes my metabolism through the roof. I don't want to always be in a deficit of calories, because then I'll train my metabolism to work less. So now it's on overdrive. So now for the next 3 days, my body is like looking to just ravage calories and fat. And so now that could be just a human belief, but you know what? It serves me. And the whole process pretty much serves me, because I get stronger and I'm able to do more each year so far. And so that's how I gauge it. Is it working? Is it sustainable? And am I gaining traction? Is it getting me where I want to go? And I say yes. So then I know I've got a good routine. And so whatever your routine is, you can just put some of those principles into application. Start with the daily habits. Always know that your daily habits are ultimately going to get you where you want to be, or get you where you don't want to be if you're not choosing the right ones. And then you can go into pain pleasure. What is governing your pain pleasure? And can you go ahead and modify that? You see, I can take anything pleasurable. Just like when Tony Robbins found somebody in his workshop that was addicted to chocolate, and he told him nothing will pass your lips but chocolate for the next, 24 hours or something like that. You can have a little water, he said. And he said the person got to hate chocolate so much by that time. You see, that's what it is they anchor pain to it. So what I do is I kind of push all that. I push all those real goodies, the real bad crap that you don't want to eat, right? I'm not afraid of it. I actually use it to my advantage. I push it all to one of my 2 days, and then I just go after it. I mean, the amount that I eat is really, could be 5,000 calories in one sitting. And when I do that, my stomach doesn't feel good. I'm hot. I'm uncomfortable. There's an insulin rush, it creates a chaotic emotional state. And so then what I do is I sit with that. I say, this is what it's supposed to feel like. So I let that pain teach me, and then I say, I'm so looking forward to my next cup of water. I have some water, and I go right back to doing the right thing. Just go back to consuming less, go back to walking more, go back to working out hard. And then the next day is like usually on fire. It's usually I always set it up to do it right before leg day or right before deadlift day. So then I get into leg day, and I have massive glycogen buildup in my, that's carb loading. I have massive carb stores, and the muscle bellies are super full, watered over quite a bit, because, you can't eat 5,000 calories in one sitting and not water over a little bit. So that's what happens, but ultimately it's the yin and the yang, okay? So I work that yin and yang. 1 second. Okay, so I'm back again. So essentially, I schedule my self-sabotage. And I know that sounds horrible, but ultimately that's what keeps me excited to be disciplined. I think if I were disciplined all the time, I think it would suck. I think the pleasure would dry up. You see, there has to be a little bit of contrast in order to appreciate one side or the other. And I appreciate both sides. Okay, so I'm in neutrality there because one side teaches me one thing and the other side, serves me in the other way. And then I can work both sides to my advantage. And I think that's really how you got to look at the yin and yang forces in general. That's the dialectic of the outer realms. And that's how everything in the natural works. And so you can ride both sides of the same coin and you can stay on the edge the whole time. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. But anyway, I thought that would be a good little quick transmission for you. Anyway, check out the link below and watch our webinar for the workshop if you want to fine tune and you want to really dial this stuff in. Is it worth it? Absolutely. It's absolutely worth it. I don't know what else I would do. If I could find anything better than what I do now, I'd already be doing it. I can do whatever I choose in this world, and this is the highest path that I've ever discovered. Because when you work on yourself, everything in the outer corrects itself. It's the highest use of your time, really. You should spend 80% of your time focusing on, truth and wisdom and getting your sword sharpened. And then the 20% of the time when you're actually swinging to cut down obstacles in front of you, your sword is so sharp that they just fall right down instantly. See, the opposite of that is when people have poor habits. Their habits are to be distracted in the outer all the time. They never really do the inner work. Well, what happens is they have to work so much harder, so much more to accomplish anything. And the reason why is because the linear left brain, the logical side of the mind, the analytical reasoning mind, is really puny. It's a liar from the beginning. And so since they don't have that intuitive knowing because they haven't gotten into flow state, and flow state comes when you've discovered how to let go in the right way, where you can take inspired action and you know that letting go is the other side of the same coin. See? Inspired action and letting go are the same coin, just like my cheat days, where I have letting go of the discipline, and then what happens is it serves to my advantage in the same way that the discipline does. But without each other, then neither one of them are really useful. You see that? That's riding the wave of the dialectic in the natural. And so as long as you identify with the natural, you should learn how to ride the wave. All right. Hey, think on those things, and that's it for today.